Hola muchachos, welcome to the video. Today, I am going to show you guys how to start calisthenics. You are going to learn some basic principles that you can apply to be able to build a strong, sexy physique while using just your own body weight. So muchachos, this video is going to be divided into two parts. First, we are going to go over 7 key movement patterns that every good calisthenic plan has. And 2, I'm going to show you guys how to put it all together into a workout plan for the week. Because check it out guys, when you're trying to build up your body, it's very similar to cooking. When you're trying to create a delicious gourmet meal, you're going to need 1, incredible ingredients, also known as the movement patterns and exercises. And 2, a bomb-ass recipe, also known as the workout plan. Now, if you have just incredible ingredients and your recipe is crap, muchachos, it is time for us to make something that is mucho delicioso. Let's do it, man. Alright, now all we gotta do is put it in the microwave. That's enough. And then put on some oyster sauce. And then enjoy. Oh my god! What was I thinking? So look guys, the last thing I want is for you to get explosive diarrhea. So make sure you pay attention to both parts of this video. So first, I'm going to talk about the 7 key movement patterns, and I'm also going to give you guys progressions that you can use. So the first movement pattern we have is the horizontal push, also known as push-ups. Now, this works your chest, shoulders, and triceps. And on the base level, we have the incline push-up. Now, to make things harder, all you need to do is reduce the incline and bring yourself closer to the ground. But then once incline push-ups start getting super easy, you're gonna start doing regular push-ups. And then to kick things up just a notch, we're gonna change our hand positioning, bring them inside, make a diamond, and we're gonna do diamond push-ups. And then for the final progression of push-ups, we are gonna do these on the rings. Now, rings are an amazing piece of calisthenic equipment because they can make things so much harder. So guys, if you never use a pair of rings, I highly suggest you get some because they're gonna take your training to the whole nother level. All right, next movement pattern, we now have some horizontal pulling, also known as rows for the hoes, man. Now, this movement is going to help you build up your biceps as well as create a thick back that pretty much guarantees the muchachas will always call you back, especially after 10 p.m. So on the base level, we have some inverted rows on the bar. Inverted rows on the bar are pretty cool, but for me personally, I prefer to do them on the rings for 2 reasons. 1, they feel a lot better on my shoulders, and 2, it is easier for you to adjust the intensity. The more vertical you are, the easier the movement, and the more horizontal and close to the ground you are, the harder the movement becomes. But at some point, muchachos, you can only go so low to make things more difficult. And when you reach this point, all you need to do is elevate your rows, put your feet on the box, and start pulling. But even after a while, the elevated inverted row is gonna start getting easy, and you can go Super Saiyan level and take your feet out of the equation and start doing some tuck lever rows. All right, next movement pattern on the list is the vertical push. But this one is pretty interesting because you can divide it into 2 further categories. So first, we have the vertical push in the flexion plane. This means your elbows go in front of your body. And this is any variation of the handstand push-up. And this works your shoulders and triceps. At the base level, we have the pike press. Then, to make things harder, we put our feet on the box to change our leverages, increase the range of motion, and we're gonna do elevated pike presses. But then to take things up a notch even further, we can now do our elevated pike press on some parallettes, making these deep elevated pike presses. Because of the increased range of motion, this is going to make the exercise a lot harder. And then last but not least, once you're good with that, you're now ready to go up to the wall and start doing some wall handstand push-ups. So next up, we are still in the vertical pushing plane, but now we're going to be doing it in extension. This means your elbows go behind your body, and this is any variation of the dip. And this works your shoulders, chest, and triceps. And on the base level, we have bench dips. Next up, we have regular dips on the parallel bars. And then last but not least, we have ring dips, because the rings make the movement a lot more unstable, hence making it a lot more difficult. So next up, we are still in the vertical plane, but now we're going to be doing some pulling, and we're going to do some vertical pulls, also known as all variations of the pull-up. This works your biceps as well as your back, especially your lats, which is going to emphasize that wide V taper. So at the base level, we have the foot assisted pull-up. When doing this style of pull-up, you want to use as little assistance of your legs as possible. Just use them enough to get up, but then when you're coming down, really focus on that slow, controlled eccentric. Speaking of eccentrics, once you get good with foot assisted pull-ups, it's now time for you to do some eccentric pull-ups. This means you're going to only focus on the lowering portion of the lift. But before you even consider going to the next progression, you want to make sure you can get at least 10 seconds for each eccentric. And then once you accomplish this and you get strong enough, now you're ready to go on to some full-blown pull-ups. Now, believe it or not, muchachos, you can actually make pull-ups even harder without even adding any extra weight. And all you need to do to accomplish this is do some L pull-ups. This is going to work your lats more and also going to engage your core like crazy. At this point in the video, we are done with the upper body. It is now time to move on to the legs. So the first movement we're going to focus on is knee dominant legs. This is pretty much any variation of the squats, and it's going to work your thighs, hamstrings, and glutes. So on the base level, we have air squats. Then once you get good with that, we're now going to do squats with one leg. So first, we're going to focus on the assisted pistol. Once you get good with assisted pistols, you're now ready to move on to the full thing. So we're going to do pistols that are totally free. So once we're done with the squatting movements, it's now time for us to move on to some hip hinge, also known as hip thrusting. Now, this works your hamstrings and your glutes. And muchachos, I have to say, you really need to emphasize on this, especially if you love the muchachos. When you get strong in this movement pattern, you're gonna keep them satisfied, and it's gonna make it so much easier to keep them in rotation. Base level, we have the glute bridge. Then we have single leg glute bridges. And then once you get good with that, you can then move on to some back extensions. So muchachos, before I move on to the final movement pattern, I have to stress something. So even though this video is focused on being able to build a physique without any weights, I do think that when it comes to training your legs, at some point, you're going to need to start hitting the weights, because all these progressions that I just showed you, they're going to get super easy within a few months. So for me personally, for my squats movement pattern, I usually focus on the barbell squats. And for my hip hinging movement, I focus on the barbell deadlift. And oh, by the way, you guys might notice that I skipped calves. Well, that's because my calves are pathetic and I don't want to talk about that right now. So anyways, we now have, for the final movement pattern, we got core, man. So for me, I don't like doing crunches or sit-ups. I think that's freaking boring. So what I like to focus on the base level is some L-sit compressions. Now, when doing this movement, the closer your hands are to your hip, the easier it's going to be. And the closer your hands are to your feet, the harder it's going to become. Once those get easy, you can then move on to some hanging knee raises. But make sure when you're doing these, you cut out all momentum. And then last but not least, guys, we now have some hanging leg raises. Very similar to the hanging knee raise, only difference is your legs are straight throughout the entire movement. Alright guys, so at this point, you now have all the movement patterns, all the ingredients. Now we need the recipe. We need to figure out how to put it all together into a workout program. First of all guys, you're going to be working out 2 to 4 times per week. This is the perfect frequency for you to get in enough work in the gym, but also get enough rest, because rest is also super important for you to get stronger. Secondly, we're going to be training our full body every single time. Because you're beginners, you can make a lot of advancements with full body routines. And for your full body workouts, we're gonna split them into 2. So first, we have full body A. And then we have full body B. So throughout the week, muchachos, you are gonna be alternating between the 2. So one day you do full body A, next day full body B, then you go back to A, then B, and so on and so forth. Now that we have the basic structure, we now need to figure out how many reps and at what intensity. So first, for each movement pattern, you're gonna get in about 40 to 70 reps. And then you also wanna make sure you're training within the 5 to 15 rep intensity range. So with this scheme, muchachos, if you have an exercise that you can do less than 5 reps, it is too difficult. Use an easier progression. And if you have an exercise that you can do way more than 15, it means it is too easy. You need to use a harder progression and make things more difficult for you. Let me give you an example of how this will work. Let's just say you're doing full body A, and then you now start off with some horizontal pushing, and you decide you want to get in 70 reps for this movement. So first, you start with some ring push-ups, and because they're pretty hard, you can only get 3 sets of 8. That means at this point you have 24 reps. Now this is not enough total reps, so you decide to use an easier progression and get in some more volume. So you now do 3 sets of 10 with some diamond push-ups. At this point, you've accumulated 54 reps. That is pretty good and dandy, but man, you're trying to make gains pretty quickly. So to rack up even more volume, you then use an even easier progression with some incline push-ups, and you bust out 1 set of 15. At this point, you've accumulated 69 total reps. It is not exactly 70 what you were aiming for, but it is close enough, and I'm sure the muchachas won't mind at all. Alright muchachos, at this point, I must stress that for you to keep making progress in your calisthenics journey, you always have to aim to get stronger. You always need to be pushing yourself, trying different variations of the movement patterns and trying to do things that challenge your body. So this is not a comprehensive list of all the exercises, of course, but if you guys would like to learn more, consider following your boy on Instagram, because I always post my workouts. That way you guys can get a lot of ideas that you can implement into your own training. Also, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, what you doing, man? Go ahead and subscribe. And muchachos, muchachas, always remember this, guys. Always strive to improve, even if just a little, each and every single day. Kaizen. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.